भी डाटा जा रहा है।
आप अपडेट करना हो देखो नहीं इधर ही आके बैठ जाए। पंखा बंद करो यार, वो खींचता है डस्ट वो तेज।
सर वो जी चालू किया जाए।
जी बनते हैं, चालू कर रहे हैं।
आप संचालन करिए। और हमारा शायद श्रीलंका वाले बनते अभी बोलने लगे कुछ प्रॉब्लम है इंटरनेट की, तो
अच्छा।
तो हम दूसरे बनते हमारे साथ वेनरेबल जुड़े हुए हैं, डायरेक्टर
करने जा रहे हैं
महातुला
मुझे
के। ओके।
Today we are celebrating Vaishakhi Purnima in view of guidelines of COVID-19. First of all, we are to Pujbante Deepratan starting today's webinar. I want to accept from Pujbante Deepratan ji as a presiding meeting today. हमारी आवाज सुन पा रहे हैं? Venerable Bhikkhu Deepratan from Thailand, Venerable Bhikkhu Dr. Kiraningile Ganathan Pero Sri Lanka,
कनेक्ट भी है।
our Honorable Chief Guest Dr. VP Ashok sir, ASP Lucknow, our special guest speaker,
वो एक और स्पीकर रखा है वो ले आने
Director MCO Professor Dr. Bhikkhu Soravit, Thailand, Honorable Naren Mukmine from Thailand, and Dr. Viren Singh ji, Dr. Ravi Shankar ji, and other participants of this webinar. Triple Vaish Buddha Purnima, also known as Vaishakhi Puja Day. The three important events of the Tathagat Samyak Buddha life: birth, enlightenment, and Mahaparinirbhan. The Buddha to be was born in about the year 5063 BC in the kingdom of Sakya at Lumini UP on full night moon day. Siddhartha Gautama Buddha become enlightenment in the age of 35 years at the small place Bodhi Gaya in state Bihar, also on the full moon day. Tathagat Samyak Buddha at the age of 80 years set out on his last journey with Anand to Kushinara and reached the Mahaparinirbhan Mahasutatan Sutta. Then the Lord Buddha attained Mahaparinirbhan on the full moon day also. This full moon day brings happiness and prosperity along with good health in the light of darkness of the pandemic for the everyone. I urge to Puj Bhante Bhikkhu to Shangayan of the Holy Ratan Sut part in short in view of COVID-19 in the last of the program. First of all, I urge to our chief guest, Dr. B.P. Ashok sir, welcome. Honorable Bhante Deep Ratan ji, Honorable हमारे बीच विक्रांत सर नहीं आ पाए हैं, डीसीपी फ्रॉम वाराणसी से. Honorable Narayan Mogeni from Thailand. Honorable Dr. Kringle Karanthana Thero from Sri Lanka. समय की गति को देखते हुए हम अपने चीफ गेस्ट डॉक्टर बीपी अशोक सर से
हम कहते रहे हॉटस्पॉट से कनेक्ट कर लो अगर आप कनेक्ट किए हो
कि आज की वेबिनार
भी इसी से यूट्यूब चलाएंगे तो तुरंत चलेगा.
अपना
यूट्यूब चलाएंगे,
आशीर्वचन अपना उद्बोधन इस वेबिनार में देने का कष्ट करें. डॉक्टर बीपी अशोक सर.
उसी के लिए मांग रहा है क्या भाई का, उसी के लिए तो मांग रहे थे.
या ओके.
First of all, I would like to congratulate all of you on the eve of this international festival, Buddha Jayanti. Respected Venerable Bhante Deep Ratan ji, S.R. Bodh ji, Naren ji, Harshit ji, Dhammanandi ji. You have organized a very beautiful program on this eve because so many people seem to be frustrated that they were not able to organize any program on Buddha Jayanti. But the adversities provide us so many opportunities, especially for the wise people, because they are brave enough to fight every adversity and they find new opportunities. They innovate something special, especially the Buddhism as a religion and as a path of life has been very successful to survive for centuries, because when it originated there were so many challenges from all sides, and even today challenges are there, but we have to fight every day at every moment with the blessings of Lord Buddha, because his preachings help a lot in every adversity and so many opportunities are provided to us. For Buddhism, why we are so much attracted? Dr. B.R. Ambedkar studied so many religions. He studied Islam, he studied Christianity, he studied Sikhism, and compared and analyzed. He wanted to open, to establish, and to follow a path which could be followed by the millions. Because through the pages of history, he found that his followers, especially the untouchables and the other backward classes, were not able to fight their challenges, fight for existence, for their dignity, and it was only available in the doors of Lord Buddha, Buddhist philosophy, through his middle path. Dr. Ambedkar found that the equality of man with man was available in Buddhism. Buddhism provided equality of man with women, which was almost nowhere in any philosophy or in any scripture throughout the world. Next, he found that anybody and everybody was free. He was at liberty to join any profession. Again, he liked that everybody was free to get education. In Buddhism, the doors of Buddhism were open for centuries, and Buddhism proved it in the pages of history, which was studied by him in a proper manner. One thing, especially the Brahma Viharas, they are very important in Buddhism. You feel that we need compassion, which is liked and followed by almost all other religions also. We need compassion. Compassion is very important. Again, sympathetic joy, which is called in Buddhism mudita, that is very important. And without friendliness, without metta, it is impossible to survive. Again, the influences, the effects of dukh and sukh, they are very important in one's life. And if one wants not to get any frustration, one needs upekha, indifference to some extent. But in India, especially the great challenge of caste was very difficult for Indians, especially the aggrieved ones and the women of India. So, in this regard also, Rice Davies found that the Indians did not follow Buddhism. That is why they could not defeat the concept of caste. That is why the nationalism could not develop in India. That is why humanism could not develop in India. So caste is the greatest challenge. And recently, when World Bank chairman came to India in Vibrant Summit, he also found that one obstacle is there in this country, that is the caste. And all Indians will have to defeat the caste if they want to establish social justice, if they want to establish humanism in India, and if they want to develop in trade and commerce also. So certainly we need constitutionalism also, because so many challenges are met by the weapon of constitutionalism throughout the world. Because if we believe in some constitution, we can fight so many forms of high-handedness, so many forms of crime also. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar incorporated so many points of Buddhism. And Ashoka's inscriptions in the Constitution of India, where we find that what we see in fundamental rights and directive principles of state policy, you will see that public welfare state has been established. It was prophesied by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, public welfare state, and we are able successfully to follow the Constitution of India, and our democracy feels very safe in the light of the Constitution of India. Buddhism tells about Dhamma Shasan, and the Constitution of India believes in rule of law. Both are synonymous, both are almost the same things. When we find that throughout the world nowadays, two things are very important: red pill concept and blue pill concept. Blue pill concept means that people are satisfied with their status, with their integrity. And if you believe in red pill, certainly you will have to revolt, you will have to think about your betterment. And certainly, if we do not think about a red pill concept, which is available in Buddhism, that new things must be there, we must be innovative. And what we see, that most important thing is economic development. Economic development must be followed by all Buddhists, not only by Buddhists, but all the citizens of the world. In Sigalovad Sutta, Lord Buddha preached that everybody should produce something, everybody should be producer, and how to spend our income. It must be divided into 4 parts. 2 parts we should spend for our trade and commerce, or whatever profession or occupation we have. 1 part we should spend for our family, and the last part, that is almost 25%, that must be saved by all of us for the emergency, just like we are facing these days in the form of Corona or COVID-19. Certainly the people who save almost 25%, they may be able to face this challenge very well, and who are not able to save 25% of their economy, certainly they will have to face this challenge in a very difficult manner. Lord Buddha preached about education because every teaching is associated with righteous education, and the education of Buddhism is it incorporates three things: discipline, because discipline is very important to combine the society, to every individual, to every man and women. And certainly, next thing is wisdom. Wisdom is required, because if you are educated and you do not use your wisdom, certainly you will suffer in course of time. So for every person, discipline, wisdom, and both may be generated through right meditation also. Certainly, this is very important part of Buddhism. The next part is the people suffer because of their ethnocentric approach. Only the Buddhism tells the people that our concept, our philosophy is open to all. Everybody can question, everybody can argue, and we should not be ethnocentric. When we compare with other religions, we should discuss, we should debate, we should get inspiration from others, from all parts of philosophies, and we must be able to study all parts of philosophy, all parts of studies also, all forms of studies also. We should not feel any proud. We should not be egotist. Certainly we are proud of Buddhism, but any form of egotism makes us suffer to so many things. And nowadays one thing is there that we feel some people want to use fear, and if fear is there, certainly our democratic institutions suffer. We have to overcome this fear, because fear cannot be a weapon to defeat others or to win others. So nowadays, whatever we see, that some forms of mob lynching is available throughout the world, and whether it is the Black Lives Matter movement or in India also, some people believe in anti-minoritism. Buddhism never supports such kinds of anti-minoritism or such kinds of fear. Fear is not a solution. What is solution? Compassion is a solution. Nowadays, one concept of manosphere is also there, which is associated with gender sensitivity, because so many movements are there on behalf of women, just like Me Too movement, and fourth wave of feminism is there, which wants to use social media and other kinds of scientific improvements also in favor of feminism approach. To contradict this feminism, some people have started throughout the world, that is manosphere, and they are prone to man-dominant society, which is not supported by Buddhism. Gender sensitization is very important. Equality of men and women is very important. Recently, in 1993 and in 1995 also, Samuel P. Huntington prophesied that clash of civilization might take place in due course of time. And to cope up with the challenge of clash of civilization, we need Buddhism, because Buddhism never wants to believe in any conflict or any defeat, because it wants to win over the people through compassion and through good things. Whatever is good is represented by Lord Buddha. So the prophecy of Huntington may be addressed by Buddhism in a very good manner. And if the people defeat their own ignorance through education, through right education, people will not suffer. People will not suffer in every matter. The education of STEM nowadays is very prevalent throughout the world. The education of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics must be given to all, to women, to children, also to increase their temperament, scientific temperament especially, because all kinds of superstitions are responsive for the weakness of the citizens. And if citizens are weak anywhere in the world, certainly the power centers, they exploit weaker sections in every country, especially in India also. It happens because of caste, because of cronyism, because of nepotism, and because of injustice also. And if you want to generate judicial character in people. Certainly, Buddhism supports a lot because Buddhism provides that people should feel proud of equality also. They should be far from caste and all forms of criminality, all forms of discrimination. So, if judicial character is to be developed, the Buddhism is always ready. Whatever you have to accept or not to accept, the parameter, the standard of Kalam Sukh is the best thing. Some people believe that their scriptures are the best. They believe in ethnocentrism. Some people believe that their culture is the best. Some people believe that their traditions are the best, their education is best, or their innovation or their leaders are best. This kind of problem may be addressed by Kalam Sukh, because Kalam Sukh provides you wisdom. It preaches that if anything is very attractive, if anything is associated with your traditions, if anything is told by your great men or written in scriptures, that is not acceptable only because it is told by some ideal person or some king or some authority. You have to use that thing to analyze that, and that must be praised by the worthy persons, and through your own experience you are at liberty to decide about the relevance, about the rationalism of the things, of the philosophies or of the concepts of the science or history or any subject, and thereafter you can accept the things which are good for all, which are good for Bahujans, which are good for you, for your family also. So Kalam Sukh is very good and very ideal concept, and you will have to believe in live and let live. Anti-minoritism is not supported by Buddhism in any country or anywhere, and if people want to believe in anything that some social groups may be ostracized or boycotted, this is against Buddhism. Recently, a movement of call-out culture and cancel culture, they are prevalent on social media also, and in behavior also. Buddhism is against, because Buddhism fights for live and let live. Nowadays, whatever is happening throughout the world in the form of capitalism, because 122 billionaires are there in India, and Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of UNO, told that the billionaires are getting the benefit of COVID-19. Buddhism supports live and let live. So according to Buddhism, all the rich person, they should devote their achievements for the welfare of all. What recently Ratan Tata told, that was a good inspiration from Buddhism. He was ready to devote all his riches for the welfare of the people and to fight the COVID-19. Certainly, this is the inspiration of Indian Buddhism. If